welcome everyone to Fine-Grained Authorization tutorial. This topic is a bit different from others, so I'm happy that you are here. There will be not a lot about Gen AI and things on that front, but more on the data front and how to handle data in a secure fashion. The QR code you can see here is a code for exercises, for examples, for our workshops today. So if you didn't have yet time to do it, please download it and install in your environment. There is a README that should guide you step by step how to install the repository. Okay. Yeah, so just to beat this works on my computer thing, I wanted to ask you, there's not many of you, so maybe just raise your hand. Who was able to install the repository up front? Is there anyone? No. Who has partial success in installing that? Okay, so you do? You are doing it now. Okay, that's also fine. So while you will be doing that, I will start with introduction, what these workshops are about, who am I, and also what's the most important, what you want to gain from that workshops. So I am principal data and machine learning engineer at Modus Create, where I work both on the data front and software development front. The thing that we will be covering today has been part of my work for the last year, I think, the authorization topic. And yes, I've been doing that as a part of my client work. Apart from that, I have also come from academical background. I have PhD in fluid mechanics. I came from mathematics. So as you might imagine, I have some strict ideas how things should work, especially on the data front, and maybe that's why fine-grained authorization is a topic that interests me. Yes, so I wanted to ask you who you are and what you want to gain from these workshops, and yes, for that I prepared, I hope that works, but okay. Okay, some questionnaire. I will go back to the Slido QR code. So if you'd like to share, I know that there is a limited number of options, but still we will at least know if you are coming here because you already know the topic, you want to learn the topic, that is something interesting for you, or where are we standing? Okay, so I guess that's it. Yeah, I see there's some answers coming. Yes, people curious and people that's useful for their work, not really, yeah, not really other stuff, but that's also, okay, that's also nice. Okay, so it's more or less half-half, right? Some part of the audience is just curious, some is working right now on a similar topic, if I understand that correctly. Yeah, so who successfully installed the environment? Was it super easy for someone, or not really? If we reach the point where we start doing the exercises, and there will be a lot of you that will have some trouble still, I suggest you pairing up with a person who has this working out or following examples on the board. Okay, so what do we want to cover today? First, introduce fine-grained authorization, why fine-grained, and what exactly was the rationale behind using that particular library, which is OpenFGA, to our projects, and also to show you today in these workshops. Then we will go through Python example code and try to a bit play with the code. So do some simple model exploration exercises first, and then try to implement a more advanced use case, which actually is also something interesting, and that was also something that we implemented for our client. So those two things are sometimes mistaken, but I guess since half of you is already working on authorization topic, you would not mistake those. So authentication versus authorization, the words sound similar, but they are not the same. Authentication is figuring out if this user is the one who they claim they are, and authorization determines if a user can has access to some resources or can perform certain actions on that resources. Yes, and we will be, of course, focusing on the second one today. And our, like a very simplified use case is that we have like a group of users, and those users can be split to different teams. Not all users are in all teams. Some users, this time no user is in 2 teams, but it also might be the case. But we have a team of editors. Let's say we have a simple application that serves documents to your clients, but it's not that simple because the clients want to have different levels of access to those documents, either to be viewers of those documents or editors, or be able to assign different permissions to different users and so on. So in our simplified case, we only have this regular users and editors have several different teams, and teams will be responsible for collaborating on different subsets of documents. And let's say that the documents are collected into folders, and those are titles of those documents. Let's say we are working on psychological research that we can split into 2 topics. One is cognitive studies, and second is behavioral analysis. And in cognitive studies folder, we have 3 documents that are covering some topics of interest, and behavioral analysis something similar. Yes, so this use case that I described sounds simple, but actually the thing that we've been doing for our client, which comes from highly regulated environment, is like very, very enhanced version of this one. So we have different group of users that might have different permission to different documents, and maybe different permission to assign permission to other users. So it all starts with this simple seed, and then it grows on it. Yes, so what actually is this fine-grained authorization? Fine-grained because we want to be able to assign permission on resource level and also on a single user level. And OpenFGA, the library that we will be exploring today, is a library based on Google Zanzibar. You see my mouse? Okay, that's good. On Google Zanzibar, they published a paper, and a lot of authorization models that you see in the wild are based on that. So you probably will see something familiar there. But OpenFGA is a tool, an authorization system that is open sourced, and given the previous talk about the documentation, it has very, very good documentation. So it's very easy to work with it, because not only API is documented, but there are also use cases, some examples, and whatnot. So it's very good to use. And the diagram below It's just a simple application that does nothing super interesting. That is this document retriever that we want to play with, and normally it would just go like through front-end, back-end, database, retrieve documents, and give back to the user. But what we want to add is another service that will handle authorization. And the bonus of having this as a separate service, not as a backend, is that we have a specialized entity that just that does only that. And yes, it comes with, of course, with cost of synchronizing those two together, but still it's in the spirit of pushing things to the left, pushing complexity to the left. Okay, so right now you've already played a bit with the setup. So I wanted to show you what the setup is, and also what are parts of this FGA, tool, of this FGA service. Is the font big enough? Or should I make it a bit bigger? It's okay. Okay, cool. Yes, so what you've been doing while installing those exercises is as follows. First, well, you have probably downloaded the GitHub repository. There you have some Docker file and Docker compose that sets up OpenFGA server and also and GNX for Mac users, basically, to better experience. And what is actually the thing that is more interesting, also from the point of view of this FGA, is in here. So you are initializing a project that was this script called FGA setup, I think. That's what it was called. FGA setup, right? Yes, FGA setup. That was it. Okay, so back here. So what this script is doing? First, it's initializing the store. So what is a store? A store is like a database, because that's a separate service that will be having inside it the all your authorization model with its logic. So first you have to initialize the store, like create the database. And then you initialize the authorization model. And the authorization model is definition of your logic within authorization policies. Yes, and when you initialize this model, you are saying that that you will be following the rules presented in this model FGA schema. We will get into the schema in a moment, but like now from the general perspective, you are saying that this will be schema that I want to follow. And then after you initialize the authorization model, you have to add tuples. So you have to add actual data to your database. So treat the initializing of store as initializing of database, authorization model as definition of your tables, and adding tuples as adding your data. And tuples are actually the things that are connecting different entities together. Yep. So that's more or less it when it comes to initialization. And if that is successful for you, you should be able to go to Playground. And what happened with my nice Playground? It decided not to work. No, it's okay. Okay, so if you go to localhost port 3000 Playground, you should see something like that.
Excuse me.
Yep.
Just had a little issue running the setup script. In the CLI file, line 7, there was an import that failed. I just commented it out.
Okay.
Everything worked.
Line 7.
Yeah, that one.
That one. Okay, thanks. Thanks. So just for the rest of you, please. Yeah, because I deleted that. Okay, so you can comment this out and it should be working. It's in cli.py file. Line was 7, so you can either comment it out or remove it. So you two have successfully installed it, right? Yep. Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, so that was about the CLI, and I wanted just to introduce you to the structure of this project. So you have basically two places there. First is exercises, where you have 5 exercises with tests for 4 out of 5 of them, just to see if they work correctly, and solutions for 3 out of 5 of them. So it's you can use it as hints or just fill it in if you don't have time to follow everything. Then we have the FGA example, which is actually the repository that is most interesting to us. And there is a PyProject Tom that governs this repository and says what the dependencies are, how to build it, what are the scripts, this FGA setup that I mentioned before. And that's basically it on that front. Then we have data, because what we will have here is, yes, so let's maybe start with this one, is an FGA client. Yep. And this one is using FGA SDK. That is also mentioned, I'm pretty sure, in the README or in the exercises. It's, I don't know if it's clearly visible. It's FGA Python -SDK. So that's this one, and there are some functions that are pre-populated for you, like initializing store, like initializing authorization model. So those are the ones that you already run. And there are functions that will be your task to fill in, like checking access or listing documents for a certain user. Okay, so that's on the client side. Then we have document service, because, well, we can define a nice authorization model, but what are we using that for? We should have some, basically, application that we want to plug it in. So document service is a very, very, very simple, basically an object that you can, oh, it's in here. That's an object that you can call, initialize. It will initialize with itself SQLite database that will ingest data from those small CSV files. That's just for general purpose and general understanding that we have a service, we have authorization model, and we will be testing how they both work together. Any questions up till now? Okay, so let's see if that. What happens? What happens next? So you have still some few minutes to install your environment if that didn't work for you. As I wanted to tell you about our use case that inspired this talk. It was in highly regulated industry, and we have an application that we built from scratch that didn't have any more elaborate authorization policies, and we wanted to find an authorization system that will fulfill the needs of the client, and that actually was evolving, of course, as usual, but also was high from the very beginning, because the application is for the research, And they want to share the outcome of this research and different parts of research, meaning different documents, they want to share with different parties. And people might be able to see something, edit something, and some other parts not. And it might also depend not only on the group that the user, like a physical person, is in, but also about, it might depend on resources themselves. So for example, if the document is already published, or is it in a draft mode, or if the document is confidential, which means it's a higher bar for seeing and editing that. And a small disclaimer, we were working in Clojure, not in Python, with that in this production environment. So yeah, that's it. And that's also why some of the code I used ChatGPT to generate, but I tested it, as you mentioned, not thoroughly, but yeah, this part I didn't test for a while, but otherwise it worked fine. Okay, so now we are going to main concepts of fine-grained authorization, and this is actually really simple because we have like 3 entities. We have a user, we have a relation, and we have an object. And user can be in a relation with an object. So for example, user Anna can be a reader of object document 1, right? So that's the idea. But also the user entity here, don't be misled, because also you might say that document is in relationship with a folder, because folder is the parent of the document. So in that situation, a user will be a document. And those relations form relationships and can be direct and indirect, and conditions we will leave ourselves for the further part of this exercise. Okay, so now we go to our playground. If you can open the playground, that would also be nice, if that works for you. Yep, so who has a working playground right now? 1, 2, 3, 4. But in the Docker. So it probably is not populated with this, right? Or is it? Do you see the same, like editors, folder, document? Okay, so that's okay. So if there is like a group of people that has, I don't know, maybe you could just pair up with someone who has a working setup. If not, that just you can follow what I will try to describe here. Okay, so we were at relations and direct and indirect relationships. And what we are seeing right now in here, this is OpenFGA the DSL, where you can see different kind of entities again. So you have type, you have relations, and you have some things after the column. So types, user, editors, folders, documents, I think that's self-explanatory. And now some interesting thing starts. So editors, as I showed in some of the previous slides, you can have several groups of editors. And each group of those editors might have a member. And you register a member saying that a user of this ID is a member of editor group of that ID. So, for example, like in here. So user Anna Smith is a member of editors team 1. If you see the square bracket, that means that the relationship is direct, and you have to define a tuple to be able to use this relationship, because otherwise it will not be working. So that's one thing. Everything in square brackets is a direct relationship. In the square brackets, you also can see some hash That means that it's like an accessor, basically. So you have editors, and you take a member from these editors that will be an editor of the folder. That's basically it. So the member is like an accessor of the group. You can use logical statements like or and and. So here you can assign a user directly, as we said a moment ago, or you can take just any editor from this folder. Yep. So this or, that's and, the same thing. And you also see the syntax editor from parent, because if you define a parent, like a parent folder, you can have some like inheritance of authorization rights for that person. Yep. So that's basically the very simple way. Also, there is one more thing which is quite powerful. Does anyone know what happens if I do something like that? Sorry?
Select everyone?
Yes, select everyone. I have to define this tuple because I have those square brackets, so it's a direct relationship, but it means that any user ever will be in group editors if I assign this kind of tuple. Okay, so are there any questions for this part, for the DSL part? Okay, so we have an authorization model, and on top of that authorization model, we have to define some tuples that are coming from our data. And that's what you are seeing in here. That's also something that was done in this setup phase, because we were sending the request to OpenFGA to write some tuples. So it's defining membership to teams. It's also defining editors for folders, as you see here. And what else? Also some document owners that we will not dive right now. Apart from those tuple definitions that you can add here or edit here, you also have assertions, which is quite a nice feature because you also can use this assertion if you put it into YAML file as a part of your CI in production environment. So there are two assertions that I added here. First is that user Annie Smith is a writer to document 1. And if you see here, Annie Smith is a member of team 1, and team 1 is editors of folder 2. Okay, document 1 is in folder 2, and we want to check if Annie Smith actually is this writer of this document. So we execute the query, and now we can see what happened here, because it's oh, sorry, it worked okay, but no. Oh, now I'm moving it. Okay, so from the user, Annie Smith, we go to a member of team 1. Team 1 was attached as an editor to folder 2, and then we know that folder 2 was parent of this document 1, and that means that Annie Smith has a relationship with this document 1 and can read it. In a similar way, we can check if Annie Smith can also be a writer of document 4. Document 4 is in another folder, which we didn't give her permission to see, and we see that it's not there. So that's what we wanted to see. Okay. So that's about the playground, which is quite good for visualizing stuff. Where do I want to be? In here. Okay, so now let's go to the exercises and see what's in there for us. Yep. Do you have some question about this, like a theory part of it? Does it sound complicated, super easy? I don't know.
No question online.
No questions. Okay, so let's go to our exercises. In our exercises, let's start with the first one. Okay, and in the first exercise, we have to write a function that will be creating a basic check. Not creating, but it will be doing a basic check for if a user has an access to some resource. And here is the problem statement. You would like to create, well, this, oh, here it is. Here are the instructions. So you have to implement a function, check access in FGA client, and implement batch check function, because that's also something that the API allows for to better performance. And in the tests, you will see if following users like Annie Smith, Bob Jones, and so on have access to following documents. There are some tests for those exercises. So if you go to exercises test, there are already written tests. Exercise. Okay, and I want to run exercise 1 test. UV, run Python, and the exercise. And right now it's raising non-implemented error, which makes sense because we didn't implement that yet. Okay. So the exact place you want to put your mind to right now, it's this function, check access function. You want to first basically make it work, right? So given a user and a relation and an object to which this relation should be, give yes or no, right? And how to do it? There is like a very nice documentation, which I will refer you to on OpenFGA Python SDK. Right. Okay. So basically, you have it already set. Yeah. Maybe I will give you 5 minutes to try to do it by yourself, and then I will show the answer, or we will code together.
If there are questions, then for the online audience also you can speak here. If there are no questions, maybe I will ask one. How does it integrate with, for example, cloud providers like AWS, Google, all that stuff?
Okay, so the question is, how does it integrate with cloud providers? So it's a separate service. It's not managed service by any of the providers. So you just have to set it up as a separate instance somewhere. So it's on you, basically.
But did you do it already? Do you know how does it integrate with because for example, you have AWS, IAM, it's a huge service. Can you replace it basically with FGA?
So you're asking if there is like a simple way to migrate from AWS EM to this one. Yeah. I don't know about such. It's like built from scratch in our case. Because the problem that we were solving is that actually all those permissions were only for this specific application. We didn't have to care what are permissions on a higher level, on the company level. So we didn't export data from EMs or any other.
Okay, so this is a use case for a specific application access.
Yes, for a specific application access, yes. I don't know how to integrate it with other providers like EM.
Because it would be fantastic if you could use that tool. For example, you have the check possibility, and you can assert if someone has some certain rights or not. And this is not so easy in the cloud. Usually you have to check a lot different constraints. That is very helpful.
Okay, I don't have experience in that. What I can do is a wild guess, since there is definitely API that you can use for communicating with those services. There is some, well, there is an information that you can send to OpenFGA, but then you have to decide where is your one source of truth. Is it in EAM or is it in FGA? We decided that this is OpenFGA.
Thank you.
Okay. Yep, so I see you are still all working on it. So let's give it maybe one more minute and I will go through the solution here. Okay, have this body and response. And since I'm lazy, I will just copy paste it and adjust to my needs. Okay, so like that, and here like that. We really don't want context for now. That's an overkill for now. Then we have a user, which we want to put a user ID here. Okay, we have a relation, writer. Is it the right one? Let's check. Relation, editor, writer, writer. Okay, writer to document. But we really want to add here, define this relation, so we don't want to be stuck with writer only. Relation. And then we have to say what document do we want to find this relation to. Yep, so we have a body of our request, and we have our client that we are providing. We will be dropping options for now. We don't care for them right now. And yeah, since we are implementing that, this one goes away. Yep, and see what will happen here. So we will be returning response allowed. Let's see if that makes sense according to documentation. Response allowed. Okay, so let's try this. At least part of our test should be working. But not all, of course. Individual access check. Oh, okay, because I didn't save it. That would help to save it. Okay, so I don't want to be debugging this in here right now. So I will just fall back to the response we have here in solutions. It should not be far away. Await client check body, right? And the difference between this and that is document object. Okay. Yes, I should have checked what is in the tests, and in the tests we have we already are sending that our object is document 1, so it's redundant information here. That is why it failed. Okay, let's try it now. Okay, so we have right now the individual access check covered. Exercise test was checking if users Annie Smith, Bob Jones, and so on have access to documents from 1 to 4, and these checks are giving us this information. That looks fine. And the second one is the batch check. The batch check is particularly nice if you want to have well, more than one things checked at the time. Yep, so maybe let's do it like that. You want to go to the client. This check we have covered, and now we are adding the batch check. So again, according to the documentation, batch check is similar to check, but we are checking a list of things. And instead of having here in one check, we have a list of checks that are wrapped in client batch check item. There is a lot of wrapping around here, but at least that's type safe. And yes, for our batch check access, we are giving a client and a list of checks that we want to cover. And then we have to wrap it in batch check items. So that's what we have basically. Yes, and then we call the client with batch check endpoint and see what the results are. Okay, so that would be it. And now it should work fine. What you see is that the order is different. And that is a funny thing about this batch check is that it does not preserve order. So if you have to implement your own SDK, like we had to do for Clojure, it means that you have to handle keys that are attached to each tuple. So it's a bit of fun, but yeah, it works anyway. So the results are the same, as you may see. Okay, so now maybe take your time, and if you didn't finish the check and batch check accesses, please copy the solutions from here to FGA example, because actually the check and batch check will be the functions that you will be using the most in following exercises. Okay, so maybe I will give you 1 minute to do so, and yep, then we can go further. Where are we? Check access. Yep.
I think batch check access, right? The docstring signature says it returns a list of boolean. And I think it actually returns like an object, like a response object.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was a little bit confused by that.
Okay.
This result thing is...
This result is not a boolean, after all, is it not? Let's see. Okay. But did you sort it out?
I mean, the test expects like what you have there. It's a list of main batch check single result.
Mm-hmm. Check access, batch result, await, request. Okay, I see. Relation, check allowed. Okay, so you have not only, okay. So the problem is in here, right? It's not a list of Boolean, but list of dictionaries, basically. Oh, even more. It's not dictionaries, it's an object. It's an object. Oh, let's see what this object is. Print type check. That would be the fastest, I guess. Okay, client batch check single response. Awesome. Okay. So if we are strict, we are doing it like that. And we have to also add it here. Okay. Okay, so it didn't change anything in our output of the test, but right now it should work. Does it make sense now? Okay, thanks for pointing that out. Okay, so I hope every one of you has already copied the solutions or have written your solutions to the FGA client. We are still missing two functions, which is list documents for users and list users for documents. And those two functions are subjects of exercise 2 and 3. And those two functions are for listing, well, just as the name suggests, is the main point to list all the users for a particular object, or the other way around, list all the objects for a particular user. And that's useful when you want to see all the documents that a person has access to, for example. So, yeah. The setup is the same as it was before, so you just run UV-Python exercise 2 and see what's expected in there. So for this I will, I will give you maybe 10 minutes, and whichever exercise you will be able to do, you do, and then we will copy the rest of it. And while I wanted just at this point to mention that this is already a place where you start seeing the connections between the data that you have in your application, let's say, with the data that you have in OpenFGA. Because OpenFGA, sorry, I wanted to show you the exercise and not this one. Let's say this one. So it's exercise 2. Yes, so the problem is that if you already have an application that has some database, and in this data, you already have some relations between things. So documents are part of some folders, and those relations you already have in your database. But when you are creating an FGA model, as you saw, you have this parent relationship. So you have to somehow duplicate this relationship into OpenFGA. And then you have to make sure that it's not going to be desynchronized. That is why only the relations that are really not, like we can treat it as immutable, we can duplicate like that. So for example, if we don't move a document from a folder, never ever, then that relationship might live in both places. But of course, the best practice is to have one source of truth. Yep. Also, the thing that is covered by this scenario, maybe we'll, okay, I will maybe give you those minutes and then go to the next exercise where we see the connection of whatever we are doing with the OpenFGA part with actual service that we have. So there are two more, list objects and list accessible documents. If you don't want to play around with Python, just copy the answers from exercise 2 and 3 and no, raise your hand so we can move forward with the next exercise.
If someone is online, we are here to pick up also the questions if you have them. So feel free to go to videos.pydata-berlin.org /talks/6/questions and ask questions. Or just go register and you'll be guided to the video.
Okay, so I will do what I'm saying as well, and I will copy the answers just to be prepared for the next one. No, it's okay. List objects. List access. Yeah, list objects. FGA client. Mm-hmm. Okay. This one we don't care about. Okay. So that's for listing objects. We have client list object request. We want to fill body of this request with user, relation, and type, which is document in our case. Here we have the client. Let's see what we can expect in the response. The ID of the document objects. Okay. Okay, so what we expect in our tests. In our tests, we expect, this is not important. We have list documents for user, client, user, reader. Client can read documents. Okay, so we expect it to be list of string. So in our case, it would be for object in response objects. I have to parse it. Okay, so let's do it like that. Object split 1. Will it work? Object split 1 document. Yeah, it should. And indentation. Okay. So we are listing documents for users. We have a client list object request. That's the body of the request. We should send list objects query and format the results appropriately. Let's see if that is working. This is size 2. If it's not, list index out of range. Okay, so let's just for now tell me what those objects are. Okay, the objects are, okay, I see. Yeah, I should have split on semicolon, right? Yep. Okay. So for list documents for users, again, we have this simple solution for this. So we have a body that has client object request with user relation and the document. Then we await for the response of our simple query and format the result accordingly. So we have access to all the objects and we want only the IDs to be taken from them. Yes, and there is a list of documents that each of those users can read and each of those users can write. There are some users that cannot write anything, and those are exactly the users that are not in any editors group. That also makes sense. Okay, so this one we will skip. And the same thing we are doing for list users for documents. So for a certain document, we will list all the users that have access to it. Okay. And this time, let's go. List users. Yep. So list users, we have again the FGA client, the client list users request, and here there is some fancy implementation detail that I will explain you in a moment. Request, it's like that. Request body, okay. So now we have to format object as an FGA object. So just wrap it in something. So document of ID, document ID. Relation is something that we are providing. So we are providing that. And user filters are actually different entities might be in a relationship with our FGA object document. Because if we take a look at the model, right? We are talking about the document, and you can have several relationships. You can have writer, owner, parent, and whatnot. And for example, for writer, the type that we would like to see is the user, because that's the only type that we can have here. But for a parent, the type will be folder. So that is why here we have to use type filters on what exactly we want to see. And we want to see a user, of course. So back here. And we have a client, not API client, and we don't want to use options again. We only use body of our request. And what we expect a list of objects with some user sets. So a list of objects. Okay, and what we want to have here is list of strings. So we want to have a list of users. So we have to play around with that a bit. Return. Sorry. Response users. Okay, let's see what we have here. Now. It will probably tell something weird. Something was never closed. What was never closed? This was never closed. Okay. so let's close it. Okay, so it's expecting some, where am I, sorry? Test exercise 3. So when I have list users, I have a list of users that should be just a list of IDs, right? And now I have something else, which I have to figure out what it is. So just do it the brutal way. Let's print it. I don't know if that makes sense. Sorry. Response. Okay, so we have object ID. That's the thing that we want to get from here, right? So we have, let's try it like that, object. Because I'm not entirely sure if that is an object or a dictionary. Apparently that is an object, that's good. Okay. And check our luck. Yes, that's good. Okay, so that's something that we want to have here. Okay. Yep, and now the tests are happy. Who can, and we have a list of users who can, who have access to different documents. So we have users who are readers and the user who is a writer of this document. We should have for document 6, 2 writers, as those were 2 people in this group. Yeah, and the readers is +1 to that. Okay, so that's that would be exercise 2 and 3 basically. So it's like a play with the SDK, just for a warm-up. Were you able to copy those solutions? Do you have it right now in your code as well? Okay, that's good. So now let's go to something a bit more complex. So we are going for our document service, and in this exercise, we would like to add to our document service authorization methods, because how it looks right now. Right now, it's something like that. This is some preamble that's not super important, but that is our document service. It starts with initializing SQLite database. Okay, it does that. It has some simple methods. It can get document by ID, and it can search within documents. And then it has to close the connections. And in this simple one, so the document service, it does not give you any way to check if a user has permission to do something or does not have permission. It just gets the document by ID and gives you back the document. But what we want to do is we want to extend it, and that's our authorized document service, where it looks pretty much the same, but it has additionally FGA client initialized already for you, and some to-dos to do. So we have the getting document by ID should be like guarded by our authorization policies, and also searching for documents should be guarded by our authorization policies. That's the idea. So it's, if you compare this, the authorization document service and the regular document service are just almost a simple copy But there is this rule of 3, right? So if you have to copy something for the third time, you abstract it out. But if you have to copy it for a second time only, then just leave it as is. So it's like that. Yep. So right now, your task with all the FGA client filled in, as you have right now, is to add to authorized document service in 2 functions, get document by ID and then search documents, proper authorization checks. So maybe let's start with get document by ID. Tests are the similar as they were before. So we have something like that. We can check how it looks like in the code. So we have 2 tests. We have a test for document service, and we want to see if document of ID2 first we want to get this document by ID, and nothing stops us because it's there is no authorization policies around it. And second is we want to find all the documents that have term behavioral in it. And again, nothing is stopping us. We can do whatever we want. But then in authorization document service tests, we have different users. And depending which user is calling the service, it might or might not see the doc ID, or it might or might not see all the behavioral or all the documents that contain behavioral word in them. That's more or less the idea, what we want to do here. Okay, so since we don't have that much time, so maybe let's go with that together. So yeah, maybe let's start with get document by ID. And what we see here, it's up till now, this is quite easy. We are checking the document from our SQLite database just by ID, and we are fetching this. And if there is anything fetched, we should be adding some guards to show or not show the user this document. Since we already have the FGA client and check function, let's see how it works. It's just a check access, right? So we should be able to call our check access. Give me a moment. Await check access, and in this check access we have to have FGA client. Okay, so that makes sense with the FGA client. We want to have user ID, which we put here, okay, and we want to have also the relation that we are checking for. And getting document by ID, we don't say we want to do anything more than viewing this document. And the last thing that we have here is the object. And the object is our document of a certain ID. Okay, so we have a document ID, so we have to call this check access function. And if allowed, then return document. Otherwise, it will fall back to none anyway, right? So that would be our first implementation. And the second one is for searching the documents. So what we are doing here. again, we are searching in the SQLite database through our search pattern, and results are the rows that are matching our pattern, but we don't know if the user can see all the rows there are. So we can do it basically two ways, right? We can either, having this list of documents here, we can do a batch check based on IDs and send this request, or we can separately do a list objects for the user to see what objects they have available. And usually the fastest way is to do the batch checks, because you already know which exactly IDs you want to check and don't want to repeat the same process twice. Because those kind of queries, the list objects and list users, are quite resource heavy for FGA. Okay, so we want to have a batch check. That's good. So let's see what we have to put there. We have to put client and the list of dictionary with checks. Okay. So let's do that. Allowed docs. I don't like this. I want to do it like that. Result. First, I will have to format it properly if that's not formatted as I want. I want to have user ID, I want to have relation, and I want to have the object. And from this, from here, I will have only documents with IDs and the whatever other things they're there. So I want to create a dictionary with user and our user ID, which was somewhere here. User ID. The second thing I want to have is a relation, and this can be the same as before. So the viewer or reader. Let me check that. That was a viewer or reader. Reader. So we have relation reader. Right? Right. So that's something we have to fix here as well. And here we have also relation reader. And the last thing is the object that we want to check it for. So object would be document, and in here it would be okay, we will figure how to access that because it's not yet a dictionary, so we have a row for row in results. So we have a row, I guess, ID probably. Okay, let's see what we have here. Oh, okay, sorry, too much closure. There are no commas there, at least not so often. Now results, okay. Yep. Yeah, so we didn't go to that phase now. Okay, so maybe let's do it like that. Since in general, that is how it would work. So that's probably some small fluke that is preventing us from running that. I will leave you that for, well, I can fix it in probably 10 minutes when I'm not speaking, but yeah, I will leave that for you to fix. So that's something that, probably this one, right? Client or something like that. Okay, whatever. So this is generally how you would do that. So you have to add some check in your getting one document by ID. And then you also have to add some check to searching through all your documents. So having those allowed documents and adding them to the batch check function and going through batch check function, then you can combine the checks that you got from here with the results that you have from here and filter only those that have passed the authorization check, basically. So, so that's the idea. And that would be something that is most commonly used also in our application. And maybe one last thing before we finish, what I wanted to show you that also gives us some more governance over how we deal with permission is adding conditions. So to our model, apart from what we have right now, so types, direct relationships, indirect relationships, we can also add condition. And condition, again, we can fall back not to here, but to here, to FGA documentation, defining conditions in models. So a condition is a function that will take some arguments and give us back a Boolean value. So our condition might be is published. And we are taking, let's say, published argument and return it, basically. But this kind of okay, so this actually allows us to like make different rules based on data, because the conditions is something that we can send. Okay, I think that's something what's missing. The conditions are something that we can send with our data, and not everything can be included in this model. So, for example, if we have a document that is published and we want, or maybe let's go to the folder. We want a reader to be only the user who can see published documents. So in that case, you would add here, as it is here, user with condition, right? And condition, a specific condition, so is published, right? And then whenever you are doing a check for, so as we were doing the, oh, I lost it, FGA client checks, like the simple one, this one, we have check client request. We can also have different fields in here, not only user, relation, and object, but we can also add some conditions here. And those conditions might come from data. So for example, if we know that this document is published, we can add it also to this data and follow up. And this will be included in your FGA model as this statement. So that's the way how this authorization policies can be very, very fine-grained, not only on the level of groups, of users, but also on the level of data and on the level of rows, actually. So yeah, that's something that is very powerful in this system. Yep, so that's all I wanted to show you.
Big round of applause. Hello? Okay, now I can hear myself. Also, I checked the questions online. There are none. If we have questions, fantastic.
Okay. I got a question since, I mean, most of us work in data and we deal with a lot of data. Is there a pattern to not unload everything to the FGA, but to filter in the database beforehand? Like if I do business analysis and I have users from different departments, I don't know, financial transactions, 2 billions, and they pull out like 2 millions, I don't want to send 2 million requests over. I mean, if I have an attribute in the database already where I can filter with, do I do this ahead and then it's not in the FGA, or is there like a pattern for that or best practice?
Actually, this is described in OpenFGA documentation, attribute-based control, and it depends on your data, basically, because in some cases, it is better to do as I showed, so you take all the data and then you filter it by everything that is available to a user, but in some cases, the other way around is better. So you first ask the OpenFGA to give you a list of all the resources that this user is allowed to see of this certain kind, and then you go to the database. So depends on the ratio of those.
Okay, but yeah, what you described, and I can keep everything in the FGA and don't spread it like apart, and it's useless, I guess. Well,
so
what I want.
Like you cannot keep everything in FGA because
Probably
you
not.
can keep IDs of your data in FGA, like metadata or something. Does it answer your question?
Yeah.
First of all, thank you very much for the workshop. I have a question because I've recently implemented authentication, but I never really delved into authorization. And let's say you have roles that comes from a central system.
Rules, right?
Yeah, you could say that that's where you have the like the types, like who are the editors and as such. How would you implement authorization, but when you have the like only part of the system in OpenFGA?
Like you have the external rules on top of what you have you want to implement here, right?
Let's say I have the access roles in a different system, but I don't have the rules for like who can, what role can. Yeah, I'm not sure if that makes sense.
Okay. Can you describe it once more? Just to say one thing that might be a bit clearer then. The model is immutable, if that helps your question. And can you rephrase it?
I think it's maybe I'm just a bit confused as well. But thank you for the talk. And
Okay.
Okay, I think unfortunately we need to wrap up, but this fantastic, very fantastic presentation, of course, this piece of software. So big round of applause again. As we need to be sharp at 3:10 up, so we have like 1 minute. There is, I think, one event now. Let me check.
If I may just one more thing. If anyone is interested, there are some tote bags from my company. So if you'd like to have like corduroy tote bags, so be welcomed.
Exactly. Get in touch. And now we have the closing sessions. It's starting in 1 minute.